Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
May the good Lord grant good health to the President and First Lady and everyone suffering from the pathetic Chinese virus. Stay safe, and God bless America. Here comes a lady with a song with that same name, God Bless America. Kate Smith, good morning. And we need a patriot. Come on, patriots, call in with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. And a good morning to you on a Monday, if you consider Mondays to be good. Oh boy, here we go. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell. And of course, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations with a very safe, clean environment and the best in tires. Along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
My friend.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You always do such a great job. Thank you, Doug. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you, sir.
Right now, let's go to the weather forecast and the weather by K&R Rental. Hello, Roger. Over at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn on the Burley-Paul Highway. You can't miss them. I mean, they've got front yard full of all the tools and equipment. I mean, they've got it all over there to finish any kind of a project. And right now, you're probably trying to get things kind of wrapped up going into the fall, and they know you've got the need for rental tools and equipment for both long and short term. All you need to do is get a hold of them today. K&R Rental on the Burley-Paul Highway. We'll tell you more right after Gina has the weather.
Not too shabby as far as weather is concerned as we begin another work week, and here's a look at what we can expect. It's going to be a little bit hazy for today, but mostly sunny skies. We are expecting a high of 77 tonight, nice and clear with a low of 39 tomorrow. Again, a little bit hazy, sunny skies, high of 79 with an overnight low of 39. Widespread smoke and haze is expected for Wednesday, high of 81. Pretty much the same for Thursday and Friday. That's look at your weather for Zeb at the Range.
Thank you very much, Gina. I appreciate it. She always does a great job on that weather, and it's brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn. Not sure what you need for finishing a job or a construction project? Hey, call Roger at 678-3122. They can help. They will help at K&R Rental. Absolutely. Big shout out to Kevin and the crew over at Daryl's Cleaners. I mean, they are absolutely phenomenal when it comes to making sure your clothes get treated with tender, loving care. You spent a lot of money on those clothes, and they want you to have them for a long, long time with the best of dry cleaning services at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You stop in and take your clothes in there, and they'll come back to you looking brand spanking new. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Caller, I'll be right there. I also want to say that our friends Ramsey Heating and Electric, why, they get there early in the morning. They open the doors about 7:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. And, yeah, the weather is going to slightly start changing, and we're going to have that temperature go down and down and a little lower all the time. So for all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs, you know they do the job for you, and that's Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
My friend.
And a good morning to Deanne. Hope she's doing well.
Let me tell you something. She is getting better and stronger every single day. She has a lot of weight to put back on. She's a little bit frail, but I'm telling you what, I am so proud of her. She's exercising and doing everything she should do, and she is the apple of my eye.
Well, she's probably not strong enough yet to hook up to the plow, is she?
Now, don't even talk like that.
I know you wouldn't do something like that.
All right, what do you got cooking this morning, Keith?
Well, I've seen this commercial several times on Fox, and it disturbs me of these people who can come in and take your home and have you evicted.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about it, but I imagine they probably would be picking on the elderly who have their homes paid for.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I don't even listen to it well enough to call them to find out what kind of protection they were going to give you.
Well,
I think it's a scare tactic, and I think it's terrible.
Well, it is a scare tactic, but unfortunately it has worked in many, many instances to where identity theft has created a void or a vacancy to certain things that weren't handled correctly on their paperwork, and their security for their home, the security for their checkbooks, security for their payments, etc. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it this morning because it deserves more time than what I can allow it. But identity theft in this country has also turned into property theft. And I want everybody to be very cognizant that you as an individual or a married couple had better become more conscious and savvy as to the bad people that are out there and what they can do. So you know what, I'm going to do a segment on this. I'm going to try to get a hold of a lady that absolutely is good at this and understands this. I'm going to try to get her on the air next week. I'm making a note as we speak.
Well, that's a good idea, but what I did after I closed my business down and my home was paid for, I had a very, very good friend that I could really trust put a significantly large lien on my house. And that protects me from lawsuits and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I don't know whether that's a good idea for some, but you really got to trust the person you're involving.
Yeah, and let's just call it like it is, Keith. There are so many bad people and so many operatives out there that are doing nothing but trying to make life easy for themselves and a pure hell for the other people. We have to be very cognizant. We have to absolutely maintain a level of observation of all of our checking, our savings, our bill paying, etc. And all I can say, and I mean this, is we have to be very, very cognizant and watch out for the bad people because they are out there.
Just one other note to that. You know, say you're a widow and the only income you have is Social Security, and somebody comes to do this to you, you can't even afford to hire an attorney.
Yeah, that's why
walk all over you.
That's why I'm going to get somebody on the air that is far more knowledgeable about this subject than I am. Keith, I appreciate your call. God bless you, man, and you and Nancy have a great week. Thank you so much.
We're going to do that.
All right, take care. Thank you. I want to jump in here and just give you a great big shout-out thank you to all of you, and you know who you are, that sent me cards for my birthday last Friday and emails and everything. Thank you. that was so really nice of you. Every year you treat me in such a nice fashion, and I just want to say thank you to everybody. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by. Don't forget Denny's Restaurant at 611 North Overland in Burley, and another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Absolutely. You pick up that menu, and you're going to go, holy moly, how am I supposed to make a decision with all these delicious-looking meals? Absolutely, whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, the dessert schedule, all of this served by very nice people that really enjoy serving you. At America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
My friend.
I was going to sing you happy birthday, but after I did that last year, I got so many threats, I decided I probably had not to.
Well, gee, that makes me feel warm and fuzzy all over. No, I had a wonderful birthday, and thanks to everybody.
Good. Hey, did you get a chance to catch Mark Levin with Senator Ted Cruz?
Let's just say a little bit of it, portions of it, yes.
Yeah, I caught just a little bit of it. I've recorded it. I'm going to go back and watch it all. But what little bit I caught just scared the dickens out of me.
What part?
Of what the left is trying to do and what he has said they've been trying to do for quite a while.
Yes.
Like the one, take away free speech. They were wanting to put a law into effect that if you put a sign in your yard supporting a candidate and they don't agree with it, they could throw you in jail.
Yeah, hate speech.
Yes.
Yeah. Doug, I wonder, and Sean, we got a little feedback here. Help me out just a little bit, if you would, please. I just wonder, my dear friend Doug, does the American public, and I don't mean just in Washington or L.A. or Chicago, but all of us, do we really realize what the left wants to do? And on their attack list is the Bible.
Yes. The Second Amendment, the First Amendment.
Yes.
Several of them. In that one case at Delaware, I think it was, with he carried a firearm at work in Washington, but he couldn't have one at home.
Yeah.
And what they wanted was you could have one, but it had to be disassembled and non-operative. But if somebody broke into your house and you assembled it and used it to defend yourself, you'd be breaking the law.
Doug, I am so concerned as to the power, the insidious power of the left, taking away the Constitution, kind of like the Abbott and Costello routine, inch by inch, foot by foot, etc. And it's happening. It's happening. The Democrats are absolutely working for this. I am looking forward, and I don't know if you've really had a chance to think about this or not, but I'm looking forward to Wednesday night, more so for the vice presidential debate than I was with Trump and Biden. I want to see the very subtle, the very dry, the very direct Mike Pence go up against Kamala Harris, and I mean this when I say it, put her down.
Exactly. Expose her for what she really is.
Absolutely.
Exactly what he needs to do. He needs to expose everything she's for and everything she has done, and let her defend it.
And really what he needs to do, and I'm sure he already has done this, is play back the tapes of the Democratic debates when they had all of them on stage, and almost all of them came after Kamala Harris and attacked her for her very, very left viewpoints. He needs to study those, write them down, take notes, and go after her.
Yes. Yeah, and they say he can't be mean because they figure he's beating up on a gal, but he can be firm and ask her, well, you did this and you sponsored this. Now, where do you stand on it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody has criticized Mike Pence for not being more vocal and more dynamic. And in this particular case, with this particular debate against Kamala Harris, I think he can absolutely put her in the back row of the theater with very direct comments and his eye contact and the way he goes after her. I think he's going to make a fool out of her.
Oh, I think so, too. And like they say, he speaks softly, but he carries a big stick, and his big stick is all of her past record.
Yeah. I mean, she is as far left. I heard one Democrat say this quite some time ago, and for the life of me, I can't remember if it was Elizabeth Warren or if it was Bernie Sanders. But they were saying that she was the most left and the most worrisome in the Senate. And that came from her own party.
Exactly. So, yeah, that's going to be an interesting debate. I'm going to make sure I watch that. But I suggest to everybody to see if you can find that Mark Levin interview with Ted Cruz.
Absolutely.
And watch it.
Yeah.
Because it will scare the dickens right out of you.
The Saul Alinsky book and the application of what the Democrats are trying to do to push and promote the policies, if you will, from Saul Alinsky. And believe me, so many of them are looming like some neighbor looking over your back fence into your backyard. They are there, they are alive, and they are scary.
Exactly. And to kind of switch gears a little bit towards the Crossfire Hurricane and all the things those guys have done, I think every one of them should be put on a lie detector and ask specific questions. Because where Comey, his testimony was he didn't remember, he didn't recall. They've got convenient amnesia.
James Comey is a liar. He's a fraud. He's a charlatan. He's a chameleon. And he's going to change everything that he does to suit himself and only protect himself. I have no respect for James Comey.
I don't either. Or Strzok, or Page, or any of those.
Or John Brennan.
Brenner, Clapper.
Yeah.
None of Obama. I have no respect for that man. I mean, I don't hate the man. I just have no respect.
Let me just say this, and I could be very, very wrong, but all indications are that Obama and Biden and the hierarchy of the Democratic Party knew and had basically given a wink and a nod to the Hillary campaign to go and falsify Donald Trump and some of the absolute filthy things that they put together.
Exactly. And I feel that Ratcliffe and everybody, they should, okay, if Durham's not going to come out with his indictments and what actually he found,
yep,
then let's start unclassifying.
There you go.
Let's unclassify it.
And
people choose.
We, the people, have every right to know. Doug, God bless you, man. Thank you so much.
Hey, everybody, let's do what you can for senior centers. Let's go support them, donate to them, volunteer to help them, and whatever you do, go there and eat so you can leave with a full tummy and a full heart.
I love it. Thank you, my dear friend. Thank you so much. Great way to start the week. Doug always has some good points. Hey, I want to remind you, too, about Dino's Septic Service. They're also a great way to start the week. If you have a problem, they're going to solve it. That's right. Septic tank pumping and liquid waste removal, sewer and sink drain lines clean, mainline irrigation installation and repair, backhoe service, the best of backhoe services. They've got all the new modern equipment to serve you at Dino's Septic Service. Absolutely. You give them a call at 436-6526 or 678-1638. And one more number, Twin Falls area, 735-8281. Fast, fair, friendly service. That's the truth. I know it. They'll be there to serve you. Dino's Septic Service. You give them a call today. And right now, all of a sudden, I'm under attack by my corgi pup. Somebody just ran across my legs, and I didn't expect that, and I went, whoa! I tell you what, we're going to start something a little early this morning because I've got a guest coming on at 8:30, and I'm going to give away the cookies to Sophie's Chatterbox. And I'm going to ask you a question, and if you're the lucky winner...
Not too shabby as far as weather is concerned.
I have no idea why we're running the weather right now, but we're going to give away the cookies first. Caller, real quick. I'm only going to give you 30 seconds, and then I got to give away some cookies. Caller, if you're listening, go ahead, please.
Good morning, Zeb, and happy late birthday. And
thank you.
Glad Deanna is doing well. And, it's just our country's in real dire straits. We need to be people to be informed. I'd recommend they keep up on current issues. Am I on the air, Zeb?
You're on the air, but I've only got 30 seconds, Adrian. I've got to change. I've got a guest coming on at 8:30, so real fast, make your statement, please.
Anyway, go to thenewamerican.com. Okay, it's the official magazine of the John Birch Society, or you can go to jbs.org, John Birch Society, and get the real scoop on what's going on behind the scenes, because people need to know, especially now, what the heck's going on. We're being deceived. The old saying that, figures don't lie, but liars figure. My gosh, we just get so much misinformation. And my own personal study on masks is that you wear these masks very long, and your oxygen is going to go way down.
Yes.
And it's real you're self-poisoning yourself with carbon dioxide, and so other things.
I'm gonna have to cut you off, Adrian, because I've got to get this in.
Sometime soon.
I appreciate your call. I don't mean to be rude, but I've got a fixed guest coming on in just a few minutes, so thank you very much. Appreciate it. Got to run, and right now I want to quickly tell you that if you win the cookies from Sophie's Chatterbox, please call them and let them know when you're going to be in to pick them up. Sophie's Chatterbox, what a great restaurant. What a great bakery serving you at 530 East Street in Rupert. Real quick, I'm going to give you an easy one this morning. Call me at 436-2244 if you have the right answer. And in the 1950s, yes, I'm an old man, I remember this, the TV Western that featured two Mexicans fighting for good. What was the name of that TV Western about two Mexicans fighting for good and fighting evil in the Old West? What was the name of that TV show? Okay? Quickly call me at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air. Thank you.
Was it the Cisco Kid?
Who is this?
Jim Roberts?
Jim Roberts, you have won the cookies. And congratulations, it was the Cisco Kid. Do you remember how they ended the program? What did they say to each other?
Hi, Cisco.
Hey.
Pancho.
Hey, Pancho. Hey, Cisco. Jim Roberts, my golly, you're the winner. Enjoy the cookies, old buddy. Thank you very much.
Hi. Thank you.
You betcha. Thank you.
Hi.
The Cisco Kid, absolutely. Real quick before I take my guest, and we're going to have him on the air, and I'm really blessed to have him come on this morning, and we're talking about Joe Larson, Cache County Clerk. Berry Equipment and Rental, Sales, Service, and Parts, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Napa location, and they've got all the equipment for the lifting, the digging, the pushing, the carrying, the tough jobs. You betcha. They've got all the Bobcats, they've got all the trenchers and the scissor lifts, and they've got all the Doosan wheel loaders and excavators. Oh, yeah, you'll get the job done. And they've got super lease programs and great financing programs. All you need to do is stop in or give them a call today. Berry Equipment and Rental in Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. With us on the air right now is a gentleman that I am so thankful that he got a hold of me this last week so we could absolutely get right down to the gnat's eyebrow about what to do regarding the mail-in ballots that are sent to you, absentee ballots, all of this, and voting on November 3rd to clarify everything is the guy that I absolutely hold in the highest regard. Cassia County Clerk Joe Larson. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Zeb. How are you this morning?
I'm perfect. I really appreciate your getting a hold of me and coming on the program. I would like you to kind of dot the I's and cross the T's for anybody out there that is not sure about a ballot, perhaps, that was mailed to them and they didn't ask for it. What should they do? Just give us kind of the safety parameters going into this voting day, November 3rd.
Okay, I'll be happy to do that, Zeb, and thanks for having me on. First of all, there's two important deadlines I think all your listeners and all of our citizens should be aware of, and that's this coming Friday, which is the 9th of October, and under the statute, that's the last day to register as a voter until Election Day. So those who are not registered, please get it done between now and then, and you can contact our office either by phone or our website. Those are your two best resources to answer every one of these questions. Second date is the 23rd, and these are all strategic dates prior to Election Day, which is November 3rd, and that's the last day on the 23rd we can receive an absentee ballot request. An item of note is that we have 25 precincts in Cassia County, 9 of which are mail vote precincts and always have been, so this concept of having a mail-in ballot is not new. Those 6 precincts, Almo, Bridge, Hegler, Elba, Parsons, and Sublette, have always, in my tenure here in 11 years, has always received mail-in ballots. The difference with this election is that during the presidential primary, we had absentee ballot forms prepared by the Secretary of State's office that had 2 check marks on it. One is to receive an absentee ballot for the May election, which was the primary election after the presidential primary, and then for the November general election to receive an absentee ballot. A number of folks, and I'll tell you this from spending all last week trying to rectify some issues in people's minds and with making sure people have confidence in the vote process in Cassia County, is that a number of the ones that we have talked to clearly marked on their absentee ballot request to receive that ballot at a future date, most of which have said, oh, I must have forgot that I did that, but we do keep that and we do have that on file. Now, if somebody did receive a ballot that did not request an absentee ballot, it was by mistake, and that is few and far between when that type of an error would occur. But I can assure you this, after an inventory I took and an audit last week, that all of the keyed-in ballots that have come back that have been sent out as absentee, there isn't a single one that is not a registered voter. They do not get ballots if they're not a registered voter. Now, to answer the big question I know that a lot of the listeners may have, if you have received a ballot and don't feel like you should have received it by absentee vote, call our office. We will pick that up. I'll come to their house personally. We'll do whatever we need to so that they can relinquish that ballot ahead of Election Day. Don't wait to the election day and take it to your polling location. We have very limited staff. We're 10 people down currently with last-minute folks that are not going to be willing to help us based on their health condition or that of their family or the risk they may be taking. But all polling locations will be open on Election Day in Cassia County. And so people can come to their normal polling location, but do get back with us in our office if you've got a ballot in hand and you do not wish to cast it. We will spoil that ballot, and that is the only way you'll be able to vote on Election Day, because our records show that somebody's received a ballot if it went out of this office. And we will rectify that, but do it timely. Do it now. Do it this week. That's my biggest suggestion.
Joe, I've got a couple of questions for you, and I'm going to just bare my chest on this to the point where I am not in favor of mail-in ballots, and I'll tell you why. Because we're seeing some states allow 6 days to 2 weeks that they say they will count them and let them be counted after the election. That, to me, leads a lot of credible problems.
I don't disagree with you one iota. It's not a sealed fact behind the scenes that Joe Larson is a partisan Republican. I ran as a Republican. I believe in constitutional ideals like bring into question the very thing you're talking about. I feel very strongly in the same direction you do in that regard. However, in Idaho, I can tell you that in my jurisdiction and in the other 43 jurisdictions in Idaho, we do have some very good rubric laws that are very straightforward on how to handle the voting process. So the designation of a precinct as a mail-in ballot precinct usually has to do with the small numbers that they are under a statutory limit, and also has to do with the remoteness that locale might be to be able to conduct an election on election day. Now, the new legislative session that came into being, this extraordinary session this year, had 3 items on the agenda, 2 of which are related to the election, that allowed us to do certain things with the election under the statute and constitutionally. Now, the big thing with that had to do with a little bit of what you're talking about. We have the capability in each county in Idaho, if we wish to begin opening ballots and scanning them 7 days prior to Election Day. The reason behind that is for us to be able to at least get them opened, get them scanned, get them all in place before Election Day, which that is the earliest it can be tabulated. If we delay that process, that's when you get days after the election. We'll be prepared in Idaho, unless there's any anomaly in some county of some sort that none of us are aware of, that we'd be able to give all our results by at least the early morning hours of the next day following the election, November 4th. Now, just so you know, that statute does require any county that does decide to begin opening ballots and scanning them in. Number one, we don't see any of the results. We don't have any personnel that will ever see that at all until Election Day when we tabulate the results. But it has to be under video surveillance, and the room has to be under electronic lock. We have both in place, and we'll be live streaming that video the 7 days prior to the election. Anybody can watch it at any time, 24/7. So that's the protection we've got here, but I certainly see your point.
Let's take a caller, Joe, on the air. Caller, please, quickly.
Yes, I've got a question for your guy there.
Yes, go ahead.
Are we able to go and vote at the polls as we normally do? I do not, under any circumstances, any way, trust the mail-in ballot. I would not ever, 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 ever in my conscious mind allow such a horrible, despicable, dishonest, corrupt thing to ever happen.
All right, we'll have Joe answer that on the air. Joe, I think you know where this caller stands. Please address his concerns.
Absolutely. One simple statement. It's called yes. Show up at your polling location like you've always done historically, and you can vote. Now, I'll just reiterate, as somebody that's received a mail-in ballot, even if you've changed your mind and desire you don't want to use the mail-in ballot process or the mail system, there's 2 options you've got that stand out real strong to me. Number one is don't mail it in. If we put postage on every envelope to get back to us. If there's a lack of trust in the postal system, which we have no control over, it's easy. Call me. We'll come pick it up if you can't get here. We will also have drop-off boxes located here, and we're supposed to, by next week, have a drive-through, contactless ballot drop-off box in the back behind our courthouse that's going to be under 24/7 video surveillance. It's right next to the law enforcement building. The other option would be hand deliver it to the courthouse. Drop it right in and give it to us, and we'll put it in the appropriate ballot boxes that are sealed currently, and they'll remain after we scan the barcode in to indicate that a particular voter has voted and that their signature on that voted ballot matches their registration card. And we do discriminate every single one for an appropriate registered voter.
Joe, let me ask you this, and I've known you for quite some time, and I'm pretty blunt about some things. I feel, and this is my opinion again, that we as an American society have made voting way too easy. I remember the days growing up when Mom and Dad made special time allowances from their work to go to the polls and vote as really responsible Americans. And now it seems with the early voting and go here, send it in there, mail in, etc., I think we've lost the integrity of voting day. Am I wrong?
Well, I wouldn't say that you're right, and I wouldn't say that you're wrong in my personal opinion, because I see the processes for early voting the 2 weeks before election. I know how those ballots are secured. I know how they're inventoried. I know how they're put in place in such a way that kind of a fraud or a difficulty that could occur is far from being able to happen. I would say this, however, though, that you're right. I think it has become far too easy, and when I say that, I mean There should be voter ID, picture ID. There should be ways of proving who the person is, and we've drifted away from that with some of the folks on the far left, and that's disappointing. But the constitutional right is a careful balance, so we have to give everybody a right of a free and fair election, and we want to make sure to afford that, but not go too far. And I agree with you. It has gone, in some instances, way too far.
Joe, we have another caller with a question, and caller, go ahead. You're on the air, please. Caller, speak to me quickly.
I know you can't remember me, but that's okay. I won't put my name over the phone, but I have a question, and maybe you can answer it, maybe you can't. So I spent a day with my daughter in Twin Falls Saturday, and she was telling me that she tried to get a mail-in ballot because she had health problems. She does not like to go out into the public. They wouldn't send her one. And she's had like 3 different names, of course, her maiden name, a married name, and the married name she's got now. And they didn't send her a mail-in ballot. But she said, I'm going to vote anyway if I have to wear 3 or 4 masks to get there. So a drive-up thing, would that work for her? I don't know what Twin Falls County does, but I wondered if maybe you could answer why they wouldn't send her a mail-in ballot.
All right. Well, I'll have Joe respond on the air. Go ahead, Joe, please.
Number one, if she has requested a mail-in ballot and she's not appropriately registered, that will be the end result. And I'm not saying that is exactly what's happened with her, but I do know Christina Glasscock. She's one of the most respected elected clerks in the state of Idaho. I trust her judgment. I learn a lot from her, and we share a lot of information between us. I would just say this: get on the phone and call them directly, and you can ask for Christina Glasscock. She's my counterpart there, and she will step you through any reasons why she may have been denied a ballot to be sent to her for absentee voting. But absentee voting denials, I'll tell you, we had dealt with one last week. A young lady that just got married and moved from her parents' home to a new home with her new spouse. Both of them have to register again based on 2 things. One is, for both of them, that is their new residence. You have to prove 30-day residency in a precinct and in a county and in this state in order to vote. So we have to ascertain that information in order to allow them to vote. But then when she changed her last name from her maiden name to her married name, that necessitated a re-registration of voting. Perhaps something like that with different names or signatures not matching would be a denial for getting the absentee ballot, but it's out of abundance of caution, and that's one of the things we've just talked about is how far do we let that go. I admire any clerk that denies giving an absentee ballot to someone that doesn't have all the I's dotted and the T's crossed. Now, that is what I'd recommend. Call Christina or call that office and talk to Valerie. They're both good people, and they will step you through what you need to do.
Joe, I've got time for one more question, and it's from me. And maybe this sounds too simplified. Maybe I'm naive when I ask this. But why, for a federal election for the President of the United States and many other people of high regard, why can't the states all abide by the same election laws and rules?
There is a rubric that sits there under statute and under the Constitution that every state must abide by, but each state and states' rights allow for the election to be managed in a way that suits whatever there might be specific within the state. I really have no problem with there being less state-run and county-run type elections, and that the federal government could have some influence. But the more we give the federal government power over these kind of things, the more you're going to find it's intrusive. And I know that for a fact from what I've seen dealing nationally, statewide, and countywide. But I see your point. If we're going to have a federal election, why wouldn't there be one set of rules for all? And I agree with you. When somebody's saying we'll be counting the votes for a month after, and we don't know if we're going to be accurate, and we have no tracking record of where ballots are leaving and coming back in, that is problematic and it's troubling. But I can just say for the state of Idaho, our statute is very clear. Title 34 of Idaho statute is very clear, and we've scoured that top to bottom as clerks in Idaho with our Secretary of State's office. I think we're one of the premier states for how we handle things. The software we've just got that's implemented for voters and the way we're following that process, I think, is unmatched in the United States.
I commend you for coming on the air and giving us the straight skivvy on all that is due for this election. Joe, Joe Larson, our Cache County clerk, and I thank you so much for coming on the program this morning. And I'm going to ask you, I'm going to put down on my paper to have you back maybe in a couple of weeks prior to the election if there's anything else that we need to cover. Thank you, Joe, for being on the show.
Thank you, Zeb.
All right, sir. Mr. Joe Larson and the Cache County Clerk. And, I really, really want to thank him for taking the time to come on the program this morning and helping everybody understand, really, the do's, the don'ts, and the what's and the what-ifs. I appreciate that. I got to get the weather forecast on, and then we'll take some more of your calls. Thank you, callers, for your questions, by the way. Don't forget Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. They're going to be having this week on Wednesday a grand opening of their new location at the Minidoka Hospital campus. And it's a beautiful new location, and Dr. Pickup was on our program last week, and she was telling us all about it. It's going to be the grand opening celebration, and they're going to have prizes, and they're going to have cinnamon rolls and hot cocoa. Oh, boy, count me in. That's going to be this Wednesday from 2:30 to 5:30 p.m. at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Please put that on your calendar, and you be there for the best of hearing health at Mount Harrison Audiology. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Not too shabby as far as weather is concerned as we begin another work week, and here's a look at what we can expect. Going to be a little bit hazy for today, but mostly sunny skies. We are expecting a high of 77 tonight, nice and clear with a low of 39 tomorrow. Again, a little bit hazy, sunny skies, high of 79 with an overnight low of 39. Widespread smoke and haze is expected for Wednesday, high of 81. Pretty much the same for Thursday and Friday. That's look at your weather for Zebra Duran.
I appreciate it, Gina. Thank you very much. And the weather, of course, brought to you by our friends at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. I know these folks. They've helped me. They can help you. The number to call for an appointment for a hearing screening, 312-0957. Don't forget the grand opening coming up this Wednesday. New location over there behind the Minidoka Hospital campus, and it's going to be from 2:30 to 5:30. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. All right, it's your turn. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. President Trump may come home to the White House either late today or tomorrow. We will see what the medical people say. He looked very healthy in a video that was taken at Walter Reed Hospital. And he even took a trip around the block in a security vehicle. And, of course, he's being criticized for that, blah, 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 blah. But, one of the lowest or no-class things that have been done against this president, and I want to preface my remarks by saying this. I absolutely detested Barack Obama as president. I did not like the man. I did not like his policies. I did not like anything about him or his presidency. But never once on this program did we wish them, his family, any ill will. To me, that is beyond the pale. But there are so many emails and calls of people on the left that have said that they hope and prayed. How could they do the word prayed that Donald Trump would die from the virus? It's beyond despicable how anyone could sink to that level and wish, hope, and then use the word pray that the president and the first lady would pass away due to this Chinese virus. I just don't understand how people can be that evil. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning again. Is there one other thing the Democrats can use against Trump than just this virus? My goodness. He's done so much for this country and so much for the economy and everything. And now they're coming out and claiming that there's fewer jobs now than there was when Obama left office.
Yeah.
I don't believe it, but maybe it's true. But the trouble is with our news system If it's said, it's fact. And I just don't appreciate that at all.
Well, you take the entirety of the first 4 years, of which have not come to fruition yet for President Trump, and you take a look at the 3.5 years out of the 4 that were completely wasted with money and time on perhaps Russian collusion, which didn't happen, perhaps impeachment over a telephone conversation with the Ukrainian president, all these perhaps that fell through the cracks, and the time wasted, and really also kind of dovetailing into the time wasted, what Trump did during those 3.5 years. I mean, the man is amazing for what he's got accomplished and what he's pushed through, but these phony stories and these completely phony accolades that were put forth through Hillary and her campaign and acknowledged by the Democrats, it was a complete waste of time and money.
Another thing that really bothers me is the fact that the Speaker of the House seems to be the only one that's negotiating this whatever you call it, to help the people, get going again.
Another financial package to help the small businesses, etc. Yes.
Well, where's all these other Democratic people? Don't they have anything to say about it? Because she was so... Geez, it just makes me so angry.
Well, let me just say this, Keith. You used to be in business for yourself, but you had, I'm sure, rules and regulations that you followed, maybe with the American Automobile Dealers Association or whatever the case might be. I don't know. I'm just suppositioning. And Nancy Pelosi, for some reason, and I just don't understand how she has such a complete under-her-thumb power of all the Democrats as Speaker of the House. They are scared of her. They are frightened of her power. They absolutely cringe for fear that she will take their names off of certain committee assignments, etc. They absolutely look at Nancy Pelosi like she is some kind of a tin god that can destroy their entire life in politics. I've never seen anything like this.
Well, she has got them so afraid to say anything because she has so much power over their election. If you can imagine, she just goes to that county or state or whatever that jurisdiction is and just says, he's not one of us. We need to get somebody else.
I'd like to see... I'd like to see some Democrats like Joe Manchin from Virginia or some other senator, congressman, whatever. I'd like to see them start standing up and looking at Nancy and saying, no, I don't agree with this. I've checked with my constituents, and they don't agree with it. And I'd like to see kind of a parting of the water, if you will, in the Democratic Party to show Nancy basically that she is not that all-powerful. This woman scares me because do you realize that there are certain mechanisms that could be in place to where, after this election, if everything falls through the cracks, she could be president?
You're thinking of something that scares the holy heck out of me.
Yes.
It's just unreal what our government can do, and we really don't have anything to say about it.
Well, we live
in America where we have all this freedom and everything. Boy.
All I can think of...
You can't even run for the office of U.S. Representative without her blessing.
Well, I'll just say this, that if you... Keith, wait a minute. Don't keep rambling. I'll say this, that if you want to have a good nightmare and wake up in a cold sweat, think of her, Nancy Pelosi, in the Oval Office. I've got to run. Thanks, Keith. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Well, I think I'll just stick my head in the sand.
Okay, well, don't do that. You'll get run over by a Jeep. Look out, buddy. Right now, I want to remind everybody about our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires, all the tread designs, all the sizes for all the vehicles. Oh, my. Yeah, we're going into the fall. You better take and really pay attention to your tires, the shape they're in, and know that you're going to need some good ground grabbers out there because of the snow and the ice, so be ready. Be ready. And I also urge you to have your brakes checked. They've got very, very highly trained brake technicians that can make sure you've got the best of brakes, and also front-end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries. All of this and more with James and Buell, Dan on Pole Line in Twin Falls, Lane and Rupert, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, the Twist family in Paul, howdy, and my buddy Trent on Overland in Burley. All 7 locations of the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, quickly, I've got 30 seconds maximum. Go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. The reason why Nancy Pelosi has so much power is we got so many unqualified people in the Democratic Party that don't know how to lead. So they pick the wealthiest one to do the job for.
I agree.
And she's just a mouthpiece for the Democratic Party because of the position she's in and the unqualified bunch that we've got running.
I agree with you.
Running for vice president.
I agree with you, Tony. I've got to run to the news, and I really much appreciate your remarks, as always. God bless you and Mary. Take care and have a great, great week. Bye. Thank you so much. News next, and we'll be back in about 7 minutes. Oh, welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch on a Monday, October 5th. And, of course, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best in tires in a very safe, clean environment. And, of course, don't forget, too, our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's have this good word for our friends at Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all at the Georgia disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this free land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Oh, we've talked about the porta potties, we've talked about the dumpsters, we've talked about the storage units. Well, I want to talk a little bit this morning about getting on the route service. Well, they'll come by your property once a week, pick up your garbage. It's gone. You call them today. They are the best. Always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, 734-6969. Absolutely. By the way, before we go to our guest, I want to remind you, too, about our dear friends over at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with Joel Heward, the manager, along with his family and his staff, always serving you and your family when there's the loss of a loved one, providing the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort, and always upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. I urge you to remember the number, 436-5636. Write it down, 436-5636. Serving you and your family, Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert, and Joel Heward also serving your families at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. One more quick note, and that's regarding Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Oh, my goodness, I'm talking about a business can really help you recoup from your accidents and your surgeries, and they've helped me, and they can help you. Number to call, 678-1191, and they're located at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Nick Greenwell heads up all the physical therapists over there that really, really are dedicated, and they know their stuff. You get a hold of them today and let them help you get back to being you. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 678-1191. Well, it goes without saying that in the last couple of days we have seen a lot happen since this gentleman was on our program last Monday. I mean, the president and the first lady being checked and tested positive for COVID-19, along with many more senators and congressmen, and the vitriol from the left against Amy Coney Barrett to be on the Supreme Court. Here's a man that's going to lend a lot of education on these subjects, and that's, of course, the president of Americans for Limited Government, my dear friend Rick Manning. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Well, kind of absolutely in a tailspin right now, because with all the news and all the negativity and the Democrats absolutely grasping straws and throwing them up in the wind, hoping something's going to stick, whether it's the president's health or whether it's the Supreme Court nominee or whether it's all this news story about Hillary, who I think should be in prison, I'll let you decipher what's going on.
Wow. I will say that it is. I've been in politics for most of my life, and I've never seen anything like this in the entirety of my life. Usually, you have one thing that happens or two big things that happen, and everybody responds to it. This has been extraordinary, in that there's so many different things occurring that is extremely. You almost can't keep track of it all, and it's my job to keep track of it all. But let me just talk briefly about the president and First Lady and the illness situation. The president's taking a lot of grief right now from the know-it-alls of, he shouldn't have gone out and ridden in the car and waved at people. The fact of the matter is, with the rumors going rampant in places like Drudge, saying that the president was much more ill than they were letting on, and all those kinds of things, the president had a responsibility to show the world that that was not true. In fact, I had somebody tell me that their United Methodist Church person in their hierarchy had told him that the president was on a ventilator, and everybody knew it. And, you don't take people off ventilators so they can go wave at people in the crowd. So so that's a level of mischief that was being played in terms of people getting really bad information. And what people forget is everyone wants to put things into political context, and certainly it does have a political context. But the reality is, America is still the leading power in the world, and with the Chinese being so aggressive in terms of their military adventurism, the thought that the President of the United States was incapacitated would have been dangerous for the world. It would have been a dangerous thing to have happen. And so the President had a responsibility to let the world know that he was, in fact, up, about, healthy, and vigorous. And he figured out a way to do that, and that was to take a limo ride around Walter Reed and get pictures taken. And so while some people want to sit there, he made all these people potentially ill who were in the car, the fact of the matter is the Secret Service agents who were in the car were the same ones who were in the room with him. So there's no increased danger to them. And the danger to the world of the president, of the rumors that the president was incapacitated, the danger to the world was extreme. So that was it was important to be president. And Donald Trump never forgets that the job of being president isn't just sitting in the Oval Office. You have to be present. You have to be there. There's no hiding in the basement when you're president. And Donald Trump, made certain that everybody knew that he was well and he was vibrant. And by doing that, he sent a real message to the world that this is not a time to mess around and try to engage in adventurism, because the United States will respond in a meaningful way, because we are not debilitated by the President of the United States having this disease.
That was extremely well put, Rick. And I would like to add an addendum that Friday the stock market showed signs of going upside down for its pricing. And then all of a sudden, when Trump made the appearance of the stock market this morning, they said was going to be on an upswing. A lot of the monetary and economic needs of this country and the world were dependent upon seeing Trump outside and waving to the people. That's my belief.
100% true. That is 100% true, and it's a, psychology is everything, and economics, and foreign affairs for that matter, and the psychology of having a president who is laid up and unable to do his job creates one set of outcomes, and the stability of having a president vibrant and able to work even while he's a little bit under the weather is a totally different circumstance. And the president put a lot of nonsense to rest by doing that right around the Walter Reed Medical Facility, and the fact is the world needed to see that. So all these people who are clutching their pearls over it, they just need to wake up. I mean, I have to tell you, Zeb, I'm getting pretty sick of the standard CNN people who, no matter what you do is wrong. Mm-hmm. Wake up. This is the world. We're not playing tiddlywinks here. This is about the security of the entire world, and the CNNs, the MSNBCs, and the like, who want to make everything the president is doing be bad. They are doing it. Be semi-honest. You can disagree with policy, but don't be destructive to America. And they're being destructive to America, and I've just about had enough of it. I'm pretty frustrated by it, and this is from a guy who 3 years ago, I wasn't all that big on CNN 3 years ago. I mean, I was pushing for the AT&T Time Warner merger to not go through because it was first of all, it was a bad idea, but secondly, with CNN being part of it, having CNN being part of a vertically integrated media structure was a disaster. And rather than mitigate their extremism, it has exacerbated. It's made it worse. And so I'm not a big fan of CNN from the beginning, but the fact of the matter is these guys they're bordering on being I'll say unpatriotic. And we'll just leave it at that.
I agree. Totally. I want to shift gears a little bit, and I would like to go to the Commission of Presidential Debates. Now, I'm going to state my case on this up front, and you can disagree with me or agree, Rick. But when they started talking about muting the microphones or have a cutoff switch that would be basically handled by the moderator, to me, that is a scary agreement that I would never sign if I were one of the combatants up on stage. I want free speech. I don't want some silly left-wing moderator sitting there with a little hand on the trigger, so to speak, to cut off my remarks or the tail end of a sentence that could be very important for the voters to hear. Your thoughts?
The media has the opportunity to filter the president every single day, has the media the ability to filter any candidate every single day. The debates are a chance for people to see, for better or worse, the candidates in raw, without filter. And any attempts to change that is really unjustified and unhelpful and maybe even unlawful a violation of speech. Here's the thing, and this is a really important concept. Political speech needs to be heard. Currently, we get filters. The president has figured out how to break the filters through Twitter and through other means. So he's breaking the filters. The media doesn't like that. So instead, they want to put him on a stage and then say, "Oh, we're going to put filters up." Mm-hmm. And if I will tell you, if I were sitting there and I were the filterer, the filters would be operated entirely differently than if, say, Rachel Maddow was the filterer. And this debate commission, well, might have been a good idea one time, but for my money, this should be their last election cycle that they're employed. There needs to be a negotiation between the two campaigns about who the moderators are going to be. The debate commission should not pick it, because what the debate commission did is they basically picked four moderators for these debates who are on the left, and it doesn't matter who employed them; it matters who they are. And so if you're going to have that kind of skewing of the debates in the beginning, then there's absolutely their purpose, their underlying purpose is no longer exists. The president and the two candidates or combatants for president should negotiate with each other the terms of engagement. They should do it between the two campaigns, like every other campaign does. Run for governor, two or three people running, they negotiate the terms themselves. They don't have some commission do it. So you just have direct communication with the campaigns. You come up with the rules of the debate. But this commission has outlived its usefulness. It doesn't have, and it needs to go away.
Let me ask you this, and then I want to get into one other subject prior to our time ending. But the Wednesday night debate between Vice President Michael Pence and wannabe Kamala Harris, I think will be extremely important. And I'll say this up front. I think that the slow, dry, subtle, but direct manner of Mike Pence might really put the dagger into Kamala Harris and what she's trying to promote. Do you agree or disagree?
I think that this is an extraordinarily important debate, and unlike most VP debates, which are snooze fests that are underwatched, I think this one will get record attendance, record viewership for a vice presidential debate because with the president's illness and and with Joe Biden's limitations, I think the assumption is that one of these two people actually could end up being president. And while I'm not wishing ill health on anybody, I think it's a reasonable assumption that people will make, and so there's going to be increased interest. Mike Pence is a polar opposite of Donald Trump in terms of personality. He's low key. He's a guy who is understated, if anything, and I think people are going to sit there and they're going to be surprised by that. And does that, at some level, does that help the President of the United States in terms of those who sit there and say, well, I have a hard time voting for him because of personality? I think it should. Kamala Harris, on the other hand, with her debate, we know what she'll do. We've seen it in Democratic debates. She will attempt to have a prepackaged zinger ready to go, and because she will try to win YouTube after the debate. And get and get all the shares off YouTube and go viral with YouTube. She won't have any substance. I strongly suspect she's not going to want to have her own record talked about, and so she's going to try to attack Mike Pence on faith and other things, and it will be a real showdown between Indiana, Middle America, and the Bay Area in California. And you're going to see two contrasting types of people, and America's going to get a real choice.
Absolutely. Well said.
And Pence will win, by the way. Pence will win that debate.
I totally agree. I know I'm not being fair in throwing this next subject at you with only about 4.5 minutes left, but the Ratcliffe information that hit the airwaves this last week and the availability of information that links Hillary and her campaign to the dirty dirt that was thrown against Trump and John Brennan with the CIA and James Comey with the FBI, to me, it sounds like there is going to be indictments and there will be heads that are going to be rolling. What are your thoughts quickly?
My thoughts are that It's about a year and a half too late. Listen, every single one of these people who was involved in this suit should go to jail. Let me just be abundantly clear. I don't want anybody to mishear this. But the challenge right now is we are almost 4 years away from when they started committing these crimes. In fact, we're over 4 years away from when they started committing these crimes. And there is and at some point the American public says, let's just move on. And while Hillary Clinton clearly had classified information on her computer, clearly was a conduit of that classified information, whether intentionally or not, to the Chinese government, because there's evidence, I don't know if this came out of the Radcliffe thing, but I've heard it from enough people on Capitol Hill to know that there was a Chinese intel firm that was actually was tapped into Hillary's computer. And so it was running through everything she sent out. The Chinese probably saw it before the people who actually was sent to. So so we know that happened. And should they be punished? Should they go to jail for it? Any other human being on the earth would have. I just don't know that America is going to want to keep rehashing that in Trump's second term. And what I also know is that there's in Washington, D.C., or out in Northern Virginia, depending on where it's tried, you can't find a jury that'll convict a Democrat in a political scandal, and you can't find one that won't convict a Republican in a political scandal. The jury pool is so skewed in terms of being voters for the left versus voters for the right that it is you can't get a jury pool that'll convict any of these guys. So it'll be, I think I think we need to get to the bottom of it. I think we need to charge people. I think we need to try the cases, but I don't have an expectation anybody's going to go to jail.
One final thought, Rick. Does it surprise you or not that we were told by midsummer, August at the latest, that we would see and hear the Durham report, and now it's being elongated past the election? I've got a sneaking suspicion we'll never find out the content of that report. Your thoughts?
I think we will find out the content of the report. I just think that the challenge is that the people who are supposed to provide information are experts at dragging it out, and that's what they've done. And it's why Durham they need to be much more aggressive, much faster, and as opposed to having a kind of a methodical approach. Durham should have done what the left did and just leak everything that he's finding, and as opposed to not doing it, proceeding like a regular prosecutor, like somebody who's an honest prosecutor, because the Democrats never bothered them to leak everything, even when it was false. They know it was about setting narratives and not about getting to the truth. We're trying to get to the truth, but because we've delayed it, we've allowed them to play by the rules and delay it so much. I think it'll come out. Whether or not anybody cares about it is another story. And so, expect a report in December during Christmas.
Absolutely.
It'll be a Christmas story, and nobody will report on it. That's what I think ends up happening. It's sad. It'll be because the Democrats will not have learned their lesson. People who did this will not learn their lesson that you can't get away with it, because they will have gotten away with it.
Absolutely.
And that's the real danger of this, is that the people who did this will get away with it in their minds. They will have been enriched by it, and so there's absolutely no downside to doing it again.
Rick, real quick, next Monday, Columbus Day, are you going to be on the air with us or not? I should ask you in private, but I need to know right now.
I'll give you the answer this way. My name does not end in an O, so I will be working.
Okay. All right, my friend. God bless you. Thank you. President of Americans for Limited Government, dear friend of this program, Rick Manning. God bless you, man. Thanks so much.
Thanks, man.
All righty. I thoroughly enjoy having him on my program. You're going to get straight answers to straight questions, and he's not going to hedge, believe me. I have a lot of respect for him. We've got a surprise coming up in just a couple of minutes, but I'll tell you what it is. Stand by. Denny's Restaurant. I want to urge you to take the time if you're hungry and you absolutely are looking for a great meal where people are nice and serve you with a smile on their face. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, and another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, all the desserts, everything is absolutely phenomenal. If you like breakfast like I do, you got to try that strawberry crepes breakfast. Oh, knock your boots off. Delicious. Really nice people serving you. Thomas, Michelle, the whole staff at Denny's Restaurant. It's true. It's America's Diner at 611 North Overland in Burley. You stop in and see those really good people today. Want to also remind you, too, about Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. These are really good people serving you with the best of side-by-sides and the four-wheelers and all the accessories. I mean, you've got to have some fun in your life. You've got to get away from the maddening crowd. You've got to get up in the hills and enjoy. And they can help you at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Fridays 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 2. And don't forget, too, they've got a fantastic service department to keep you running at Let's Ride in Rupert area where the fun is sold. Real quick, too, if you're over in that neck of the woods or that part of the desert, don't forget our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert, right on the curve as you go into Rupert. Absolutely. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and so much more. They are very accessible and very devoted to serving others. And you are part of the others. I'll guarantee you they want to take care of you. So give them a call, 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Here is my surprise. One of my very favorite people and a very dear, close personal friend is back from a summer of fun, and he's going to be on the program with us right now. The one, the only, Frosty Woldridge. Good morning, sir. How are you?
And good morning to you, Zeb, and all the best to you and Deanne and everyone listening across the Zeb Bell radio land. Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be with you once again. It's been a heck of a 5-month adventure across America, and I'm thrilled to be back with you and look forward to our discussion.
What did you, and I ask you this every time you go on a hiatus and have a trip on a bicycle or someplace to travel or hike, what did you learn first and foremost from this last little time off?
Well, just a quick rendition of what we did. We did actually a 4-state motorcycle ride, about 2,000 miles, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, and Utah. Got to see a lot of national parks. Then got the bicycles out. After that was in June and July, we did the Grand Tetons, cycled through the Grand Tetons, and also up to Glacier and Yellowstone National Parks to see all of the people and talk to a lot of people. And then that was in July. And then in August, we took a 20-state ride in the car, and actually up the Blue Ridge Skyline Drive, Nashville, the President Andrew Jackson's home, along with Andrew Johnson's home. There in Tennessee, we hiked some of the Appalachia Trail. We were on Springer Mountain at the beginning of the Appalachia Trail, which goes 2,175 miles all the way up to Mount Katahdin there in Maine. We also then went to the Gettysburg battlefield, and we stood where Abraham Lincoln gave his 2-minute speech, the most famous speech of any president of all times, and it only lasted 2 minutes, called the Gettysburg Address. And I remember when I was in the 8th grade, I memorized it and stood up in front of an assembly and gave that address, and it's still in my mind to this day. And throughout that entire journey, we spoke to people from all over the country. Altogether, we finished, I think, 28 different states. And it was an extraordinary journey, and Sandy and I met extraordinary Americans. We also got to see some of the remnants in places like Asheville, North Carolina. We saw where the riots were manifested. We saw BLM and the looting and the burning and the killings. We got to see statues that were torn down in the different cities across the country. So it was an extraordinary journey this summer, and gave me pause, especially standing there where Abraham Lincoln gave his Gettysburg Address. So that's a short rendition of what we experienced. And of course, we also experienced that the American citizens are really angry on many fronts. They're angry about the looting. They're angry about the burning. They're angry about the stealing other people's property and shutting down entire cities with no sense of responsibility, no sense of accountability. We also appreciated that there were others that I spoke to. You know, I'm a journalist. I speak to people. I want to get what their thoughts are. And there has to be some change in this country, certainly with the policing of our streets. But even more so, we need complete new educational systems and job opportunity systems really brought into the arena to help those who simply are in those projects and in those ghettos and living really unfortunate lives. So it was a mixed bag, and I'm thankful, and you'll see it in my columns here in the coming months. And one of my columns that was published today is, Will America Survive Another 100 Million Immigrants by 2050? For those of you who follow me on newswithviews.com, I've got in a 10-part series, and it shows what's coming, and it shows where we are with what's coming and what we can do to change course with what's coming. And certainly you and I will be discussing that as we go along here in the coming months.
You know, Frosty, one of the things I wanted to ask you about, and Sean, there's a little bit of feedback there if you could help me out, is that with your travels, you get a chance to talk to people that are not in the mainstream. They are not part of the media. They are the locals, the residents that reside in the towns and the areas where all of this sometimes heinous activity occurs. My question to you is, there seems to be a complete eradication and erasing of our history, whether it's good or bad, whether it's the Confederacy or whether it's the Union, and the statues and everything else talking about our Civil War. What do the real people that live in these areas feel about the purging and the absolute degradation against the statues and the cleansing of our history?
Oh, they're very angry, especially, obviously, American citizens. I even talked to quite a few black Americans as well as many white Americans, and the younger ones are foolish and give really foolish answers because they seem to be indoctrinated by a very leftist ideology, whereas regular Americans realize that you can't tear down the statues that actually built this country. And one of the things that most people don't understand is that over 1.5 million immigrants, mostly of color, yearn to and actually get into America every year, 1 million legally and over 500,000 illegally, because this is the single greatest country for any race and every creed and every color to enjoy the opportunities of freedom, of expression, of education, of medical care. And so you find that out when you start talking to them. And that's what they say. This country, they're making such a racist charge in the media, but in fact, regular American citizens, I would say well into the 90 percentile of American citizens carry on their daily life without prejudice, without racist or racial anything, and that they would like to have the same thing accorded and afforded them. Because white America is tired of becoming and the cause of all the problems of black America, when there's so many opportunities for black America to exceed. I mean, there are more billionaires, black billionaires and black millionaires in America than any other country and all other countries combined. You have the NBA. You have the MLB, you have the NFL, dominated by blacks, of course. You don't see anything like that in all those millionaires. Virtually every one of those players is a millionaire for just entertaining the country, whereas you would never see that in India. You certainly don't see it in China, and you don't see anything like that in Africa. So LeBron James, really, if he's going to take his knee, which he does, against the American flag, he should get down on his knees and thank God that he was born in America and that he is an American citizen along with all of his friends and brothers, to be able to be a millionaire and to be able to express himself athletically. And I also found that whites are, especially wearing the mask now all over the country, we actually, I saw people, whites, avoiding any kind of anything with blacks. They kind of walked around them because you get so much hype on the radio and the television about the vast gulf between blacks and whites in this country. So I as I observed going into different stores and going in for getting, like Walmart stores or grocery stores that we went to, it's almost like we're walking around each other, but all of that has been caused by the media and, men like Al Sharpton or Louis Farrakhan or Jesse Jackson, instead of sowing seeds of togetherness and understanding and racial harmony. You see a media that's creating a racial disharmony, and some of those great leaders that aren't so great are not trying to sow seeds of harmony. They're sowing seeds of distrust and acrimony. So that's what I saw, and that's what I understood and felt as I talked to a lot of people going across the country.
Let me ask you this, Frosty, and I know we're going to be short on time, but you're very intriguing with your answers. With all that President Trump has had to fight through in the first term of his office, 3.5 years, with all the Russian collusion garbage and the impeachment garbage and the left absolutely trying to sow seeds of strife to do anything and everything they could, and then with the outbreak of the coronavirus, all of this, along with, I think, the most dangerous race relations in this country ever, starting back last January, all of this seems to be the part of a very sinister plot. Do you think I'm crazy for saying that?
I think there is a methodical, ongoing plot, whether it's, Soros or whether it's whomever it is, the Marxist ideologies that are going on. But one of the things that I, as a 73-year-old senior citizen, saw, or I would bring up, is where did all these kids come from who are Antifas and rioting and looting as if it's their right? And what happened to all of these black children out there that are looting stores? And they're not. They could care less about George Floyd. They could care less about any of these unfortunate events where some black people were arrested and or killed during their arrests. They seem to be just total anarchists, and Black Lives Matter. It's really an acronym for burning and looting and murdering, and that is not the way to hold or move change in our country. We need to go to the city councils. If you want to tear down a statue, go to the city council, put in a submission to have the statue taken away. But that won't change our history. And I want to go back to Abraham Lincoln. There were over 500, I think it was 560,000 white kids died just on the northern front. I forget how many it was from the southern front to free the blacks. This was the first country with a constitution that actually allowed change so that there was no more slavery. And there hasn't been a slave in this country since 1965, but there are countless slaves in the Middle East. There are countless slaves still in Africa, and they're black. And so you really have to appreciate that there may be faults with the American history, but everyone that lives in this country is so fortunate, and millions people of color yearn to come to this country because it offers such incredible opportunity for anybody of color, of any race, creed, or color. And so that to me is the great conundrum: is who brought these kids up to be such anarchists, and who brought them up to be so violent and not be a part of the system that allows our freedoms and allows us to be a free country. That to me is the great mystery. And at some point, if we don't put them in jail, if we don't arrest them and prosecute them and imprison them, then anarchists could very well rule the streets, and then we will lose our civil society. And that is the great fear that I saw from all my observations this summer.
Is it fair to say that, in your opinion, it is mine, that it's not the Black Lives Matter organization, it's not the Antifas, but it's we the people? We the people that are failing to stand up for our Constitution and our rights that are going to allow evil to take over this country.
I would agree with you. There's no question in my mind, if we don't put the clamp on anarchists, and these are the BLM people, and these are certainly people like Louis Farrakhan, or Linda Saussure, or Ilhan Omar, or Rashidi Tlaib there in Detroit. If we don't arrest them for sedition, if we do not start clamping down, then all of us are going to lose the freedoms that we so cherish and that are manifested by the U.S. Constitution. Because I can tell you this, there's no one in Antifa or Black Lives Matter that are going to form a more perfect union than the U.S. Constitution. All other great countries in this world have copied the U.S. Constitution, and the successful countries in this world are the ones that abide by a very similar Constitution based on the foundation of our founding fathers. And for us to let that slip through our fingers because we think we have to placate Black Lives Matter or we have to placate Antifa for a few. I mean, it's infinitesimally tiny, the killings that have happened by white police officers in this country. And you can go, that Breonna girl there, Taylor, I think, in one of the states that was killed, she was living with and harboring a drug dealer, and she knew that, and then he's the one that shot through the door and wounded a police officer, and then they returned fire. But you hear it from the mainstream press that it was, total murder of Breonna Taylor. No, it wasn't. She was complicit in her own demise. And so, and again, if you look at Chicago right now, run by a black mayor who is a Democrat, they have an average of 50 shootings every weekend of black-on-black killing and criminal shootings, and an average of anywhere from 8 to 14 deaths. And those are black-on-black crimes. So it's obviously not working so well in the black community, even with black leadership. And that goes on in places like Baltimore. That's the reason Detroit, Michigan, where I worked for 20 years, died, because the blacks simply were killing each other. They were shooting everyone. They were carjacking. They were graffitiing. They were burning cars. They were literally anarchists, and that's why 1.2 million white people fled Detroit. And if this continues, you'll see the whites flee Minneapolis. They'll flee Seattle. They'll certainly flee Portland. They'll flee Chicago, and they are, because of the kind of lawlessness that does not adhere to the U.S. Constitution. And so that's the great tragedy we have. And at some point, all of us who are American citizens, black, white, and brown. We better push for law and order. We absolutely must elect a president who is literally adheres to law and order. And I'll share this with most of the listeners out there. If Joe Biden gets into the White House, we can look for even more chaos in our country. I mean, look at his foundation. Go to the Joe Biden foundation, his platform, open borders. I mean, total open borders. That means more drugs in our country. That means 20-plus million illegal aliens will gain instant citizenship with no earning and no standing in line and no lawfulness, total illegal and unlawfulness. We're talking about a nightmare in this country if Joe Biden gets into office, especially with Kamala Harris. If you look at her record, you just want to cry because you can't believe somebody who is so duplistic is now a heartbeat away from the presidency. And let's face it, he's 78 years old, and he's frail. He has dementia. That man is not fit for the president of the United States. And so if he ever gets in, plan on Kamala Harris, somebody who's really not... She has an Indian mother and a Jamaican father, I think, is what she is. She would be the embodiment of what is wrong with all of the third world, and that is what she has for a background. So it's quite fearful what's happening to our country right now, and especially if Joe Biden gets into office, because he will never finish up. I would bet that the man will meet his maker before 4 years the term is up, and then she would take over. I fear for our country right now. I really fear for it, Zeb.
Frosty, real quick, and keep your answer short because I'm down to the last 2 minutes. Using the title of your latest piece, Will America Survive Another 100 Million Immigrants? And I would stop right there and say that with the fracturing and the tearing apart and the disrespecting of our Constitution, no, we can't survive.
You would be correct. As a matter of fact, if you go to newswithviews.com and look up the entire series, it's 10 parts. Part 2 talks about where we're fracturing and how we're fracturing. As a matter of fact, a man named Thomas Chittum, who's a combat veteran from Vietnam, wrote a book called Civil War II, The Coming Breakup of America, that's also been published in the last week. He shows where, and it really, he absolutely predicts how we're fracturing because of our multiculturalism and because of our diversity and the fact that we're importing so many people from so many different countries that no one is on the same page, and they're certainly not in the American page. And think of an example, Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib. Those two Muslims are absolutely against everything that we all stand for, and they're absolutely against the U.S. Constitution.
I can't say enough about how happy and proud I am that you're back on our program every Monday at 9:30. My dear friend back in Golden, Colorado, Frosty Woldridge. Take care, and we'll look forward to next Monday morning.
And God bless, and thank you, Zeb.
Thank you, Frosty. Just absolutely a treat to have him back on the air. Dear friend and very knowledgeable journalist, Frosty Woldridge. Thank you for all your comments here this morning. Right now, I'm going to have the weather forecast before I run completely out of time, and the weather is brought to you by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And they, of course, are the professionals providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area and beyond for well over 50 years. Don't forget the very best of tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, bookkeeping services, retirement planning, all of this and so much more. All you need to do is just get a hold of them, make an appointment. They have offices in Burley and Rupert serving you, your family, and your business. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, the professionals. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Not too shabby as far as weather is concerned as we begin another work week, and here's a look at what we can expect. It's going to be a little bit hazy for today, but mostly sunny skies. We are expecting a high of 77 tonight, nice and clear with a low of 39 tomorrow. Again, a little bit hazy, sunny skies, high of 79 with an overnight low of 39. Widespread smoke and haze is expected for Wednesday, high of 81. Pretty much the same for Thursday and Friday. That's Look Your Weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, she does a great job putting all that weather together for us, and that's Gina at our main studio. But the weather is sponsored by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. I keep telling you that they really can help people starting a business or maybe changing it over to a partnership or a corporation or anything you need to do with your business. They can and they will help you. Please remember Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, located in Burley and Rupert. They are the professionals. Wow. I get a chance right now to also give you some information about some other professionals. And when it comes to electronics and all the different gizmos and devices and everything else about the monster cables and everything else that they have in the store, whether it's home theater systems, video surveillance cameras, car stereos and speakers, all the complete sound systems, and televisions, why they've got them all from Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, LG TVs. Woo! They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6, and I urge you to talk to the real professionals when it comes to your electronic needs. Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley. Curtis and Lorena are there to serve you, and the number to call, 678-6997. Patterson's Electronics in Burley. Wow. Coming up next hour, let's take a look here real quick as to what we've got cooking for the rest of the morning. One of my favorite guests, and he has written the book called Postgate, How the Washington Post Betrayed Deep Throat, Covered Up Watergate, and Began Today's Partisan Advocacy Journalism. That's, of course, John O'Connor. And this man's really, really sharp. We're going to be talking to him about everything that's going on in the news right now, especially this mess, huge mess with Hillary and her campaign and the involving Comey with the FBI and Brennan with the CIA. Woo, the list goes on. We're going to have him on at 10:06. Then at 10:32, Deb Hines from Minidoka Animal Control with Dog Days. So we've got a lot coming up on Zeb at the Ranch for the remainder of this morning. If you have any events that are coming up and you'd like me to broadcast, or you would like me to tell everybody to be there and be a part of your event, please mail them, if you would, to me. Email them at zebattheranch@hotmail.com. That's ZEBATTHERANCH, then the @mail sign, hotmail.com, and I will get them on the air. A lot of people have said, well, how come you don't do this and how come you don't do that? Well, send the information to me, and you will get your just desserts. I promise. I will take care of each and every public service announcement. ZebAtTheRanch@hotmail.com. You send those to me and I'll take care of it, I promise. Right now we're going to send it back over to Sean, and he's going to go to the news. We'll be back in about 7 minutes. Oh, welcome back. Here we go into our last hour for this Monday, October 5th. Zeb at the Ranch, and of course brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the very, very, very best in tires, and of course in a safe, clean environment. And we also want to thank our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Before we get our guest on the line, I also want to mention our friends at 7K Metals. And boy, this is really something that I was introduced to about 10 months ago, where you can purchase silver and have it sent right to your home. Absolutely building yourself a financial security and a future. And it's a great saving opportunity, like I said, and a valued treasure for your loved ones in the future. How do you find out more about 7K Metals and silver purchases to your home? Easy. Contact Lon Hardy at 312-8699 or Sharon at 430-3259. 7K Metals and silver purchases. You check with those good folks today. Right now, we're going to go to the phone line, and I've got so many questions for this man because of his knowledge and what's going on or shouldn't be going on in politics. He is the author of Postgate, How the Washington Post Betrayed Deep Throat, Covered Up Watergate, and began today's partisan advocacy journalism. Heavy on that. Let's say good morning to John O'Connor. Good morning, John.
Zeb, how the heck are you? Good to talk to you again.
Well, I really appreciate your being on the program this morning because after the last couple of days, John, and I've been taking notes and writing down things in regards to this mess for the last 4 years that basically looks like it was instigated by Hillary Clinton and her campaign. It involves Comey with the FBI, Brennan with the CIA, and goes right to the Oval Office with Biden and Obama. Can you lay some credibility to what's going on here?
Well, yeah. You know, what's worse about it, what you just said, was that it also involves explicit and knowing use of Russian disinformation. So let me go back. Hillary knew that the Russians had these 33,000 emails on her. Now, she also knew that they owned her, essentially, because they had corrupted her so badly with the Uranium One scandal. They paid $145 million to basically give Vladimir Putin control of the world's uranium, which he uses as part of his policy. Everyone knows, the United States says it, there's no secret about it. He uses energy as a strategic weapon, whether it's his natural gas or his uranium. Most nuclear plants in the United States now depend upon Vladimir Putin for their uranium supply. Think about that one. Think about your power being controlled by Vladimir Putin. So they already controlled, that's background, Jeff. They already controlled Hillary, that all the compromise on her they wanted. Now what happens is our intelligence agencies are so corrupt, they're trying to help Hillary by trying to foment a Russian scheme, that basically Putin and Trump are in it together. The thing goes along sort of middling from the end of 2015 to early 2016, and these people are afraid, their British partners are afraid of Brexit. They think Trump is a guy that's a bull in a china shop. He's going to ruin the deal for him, and all their nice cocktail parties and funding of European nations. So they're anti-Trump, but they don't have anything to hang their hat on yet. Then what happens in April, there's a hack of the DNC. And there's a hack of the DNC. They know it's coming. Hillary knows some emails are coming. So then they actively hire Christopher Steele, who everyone knows has Russian disinformation sources. Christopher Steele is controlled by a guy named Oleg Deripaska, who is close to Putin, who's the aluminum oligarch of Russia. Steele might as well have a hat on him that says oligarch, okay? So now Steele, April 19th, one day after the hack, the wife of Glenn Simpson goes into the White House to get permission from Barack Obama's folks to spend the DNC's money. So Obama is in on this from the start. April 18th, the hack. April 19th, Mary Jacoby, Glenn Simpson's wife, goes into the White House. April 26th, Joseph Mifsud, the supposed Russian Maltese professor, who's a Western intelligence agent, comes in to George Papadopoulos and says, Papadopoulos, gosh, the Russians have emails of Hillary. Then the Australians come in and say, Alexander Downer has a drink with Papadopoulos, and then they try to start this whole idea. Then he gets from Papadopoulos that someone's told him about emails. This whole thing is basically the FBI's in on this. They know this is happening. They're doing it. They're bringing in the agents. They brought in Joseph Mifsud. So Brennan and Comey are in on this. They're working with Hillary's campaign, and they're working with Christopher Steele and Oleg Deripaska and his Russian subsources. Then the main subsource for Christopher Steele is a Russian spy named Igor Danchenko. Now, as their chief source, one of their chief sources for the dossier, they use a guy named Sergei Millian, who's also suspected to be a Russian spy out of New York. He's at least a Russian accent, the head of the Russian-American Chamber of Commerce, this young guy. He's nobody from nothing. But he was suspected by the counterintelligence folks. So we have two guys that have counterintelligence investigations on him. The FBI knows it. They knew that. The CIA knows it. Obama knows it. Hillary knows it. And now, for the next 4 years, people are accusing Trump. Now, Zeb, when you read this Steele dossier, you laugh. Because the idea that somebody that's two doors down for Vladimir Putin is going to blow Vladimir Putin's deal with Trump is absurd. Christopher Steele, please don't tell Vladimir Putin that I'm writing out his plan here, because I know I'll get killed. But by the way, let me tell you that there's this conspiracy between Trump and Putin. Come on now. If someone from the Kremlin is telling this to Steele, it's because Putin wants that disinformation out. It is the most common-sensible thing in the world. Everybody knows it's Russian disinformation. You read the report, you don't even need to know about Denchenko or Millian or any of these guys at Deripaska. You read the report and it looks like disinformation, because it makes no sense that Putin would easily blow his own terrible scheme. So it is a comic book group of people, and it would be funny if the entire nation did not take it seriously, and they're even taking it seriously today. It's ridiculous. Meanwhile, Joe Biden is out there, and Hunter Biden are out there taking bribes from everybody. And there's no doubt about it. It's plain as the nose on your face. So we have an upside-down world, and it gets back to my theme. This can only happen if you have a major media that is in the pocket, that is corrupt, that is in the pocket of one party. They're going to excuse whatever Joe Biden does, whatever Hillary Clinton does. Basically, they're crooks. Hillary was a crook. I mean, I'll say that. Hillary was a crook on the uranium one. Biden was a crook enabling his son to get all this money from China, Russia, and Ukraine. And nothing is done about it. Meanwhile, there's one honest businessman, however bluff and blustery he may be, that's not looking for a cent out of this. And we're accusing him of being a Russian conspirator. You can't make this up, Zeb. It's just incredible.
What?
And yet people are falling for it.
It makes me...
Especially the dumbest people in this country are the people who get their news from CNN, and they sit there from a nice home in the suburb of Philadelphia, and they don't know really what's up. And those people are probably going to decide this coming election. I hope they don't, but I think they will.
Let me ask you this, and this is a very simplistic question, but are there no Matt Dillons out there to clean up Dodge City? I mean, where's the power for law and order and honesty and integrity? Is anybody going to step forth and try to clean this mess up?
Well, Donald Trump was trying to, and really the best guy we have, the best Matt Dillon around is William Barr. And he's the real deal. He's smart. He's tough. But he may not get much of a chance. Here's what I think is going to happen, Zeb. I think we'll probably have some indictments before the election. I think he'll go ahead and indict some people if he's ready. I don't think he's going to use this pre-election rule because he's going to be indicting counterintelligence agents. But the problem is it may be too little too late. If he indicts people and Trump does not win, those indictments will be flushed down the toilet. The new corrupt people that come in will say, oh, this is just a bunch of reactive conservatives. It's going to be terrible. He was just Trump's henchman. So the real problem is they have been able, I'm afraid, to run out the clock. They've spent 3 years on the Russiagate and the stupid impeachment. By the time Barr came in and realized what was happening and began to really straighten things up, he only had a limited amount of time. The intelligence agencies are running out the clock. They're not anxious to have their sins unveiled. They took their time getting documents to Barr, and that's why, and the COVID thing helped them out quite a bit. So I am afraid, and I hate to be pessimistic, but I'm afraid the clock is running out. But we do have a Matt Dillon there. The question is he going to get gunned down before he gets to the bad guys?
Well, let me ask you.
I don't want to be pessimistic here, but that's what I see.
Well,
As good as you will ever find, as smart and as tough and as principled as you will find.
John, what about the Durham report? Now, I'm going to be blunt on this, and you can tell me I'm all wet, but we were told the Durham report was going to come out at midsummer, possibly the end of July, 1st of August, and it was really going to point some fingers at people that needed finger pointing. But now here it is going towards the middle portion of October soon, and they're saying not to be released perhaps until after the election. What kind of credibility do we have with the Durham report?
Well, that's the problem. And you notice, and I thought this was good, that one of Durham's assistants just quit because she thought they were being pushed too hard. I like that because it means to me that maybe the Durham report will come out before the election. But like I say, I feel sorry for Durham because COVID conspired against him. And Christopher Wray and the people at the CIA are not anxious to give up information. It's hard to get things declassified. You know, this Radcliffe just declassified the one thing about Danchenko being a spy, but that took time, and I think he did that in anticipation of a prosecution. So that to me is a good sign. So the last things are good signs. What Radcliffe did, and the fact that this woman quit because they were pressuring her to get moving, indicates to me that they will get moving. They are getting moving. We'll have something, I think, before the election. Now, people are voting right now, but I just hope it's not too little too late. That's all. I think Durham's a good guy. I think Barr's a great guy. But I think this COVID thing is terrible luck. It really is. It's given the bad guys a way to escape and evade.
Let me ask you this, John, and again, I know you're a Republican, I'm a Republican, I'm very conservative, but where's the backbone or the spine for the Republican Party to really go en masse after Hunter Biden and Daddy Joe and their involvement with money, not only over in the Ukraine, but also over in China, etc.? There doesn't seem to be any exposing of facts on that family.
Well, it's always been the Republican problem. The Republican problem has always been the people in power or the elite people who usually don't like to make waves and to have the Republicans have the Democrats stick their tongues out at them. It's like this 9/11 report was a bunch of pablum where they didn't really talk about what was really going on. They really are very wishy-washy on the reports that came out recently. I forget it was Lindsey Graham's report was not really very satisfactory. And it's always been the Republican problem because it is difficult to find someone who wants to be respected, wants to be liked, that can come out and still have enough guts to say, this is what it is. Now, lawyers are used to doing that. I'm used to doing that. I'm used to standing up in San Francisco and saying things that maybe other people don't like, but I'm cordial for the other people. The problem is the Republican Party, the Democrats usually have the lawyers around, the good lawyers. The Republican lawyers, for whatever reason, stick with the corporate stuff. They don't get into politics. They don't run for office. And so we often don't have really, not that everybody has to be a lawyer, but we don't have people like Abraham Lincoln who are sharp-tongued lawyers who can stand up and tell the truth. And what we have is the best thing the Republican Party has are people like you who are out there doing God's work every day in the local radio markets who really know what they're talking about. The problem is we don't have guys like you in Congress or the Senate. We don't have guys like me in the Congress or Senate. And people who like to stand up and be counted are not the Republicans who are getting elected. And that is an unfortunate thing about the Republican Party. I hate to say it.
John, I've got to ask you, and we haven't had a chance to visit on this subject, a person that I'm more afraid of than either Hunter Biden or his dad, Joe. And that is Kamala Harris. You know her. You've probably worked with her or whatever on various issues. This woman is absolutely scary to me. If she does attain the position of vice president, which I don't think will be for very long, and then she'll escalate into the Oval Office, how wrong am I by fearing Kamala Harris?
Well, I think you should. And I got to confess something, Zeb. One of my good friends, when Kamala was a law enforcement person getting into DA, I went to a couple fundraisers with her, hung out with her a little bit, gave her some money back when she was going to be a local DA and so forth and so on. I think she's very ambitious, and I think she will do what she needs to do. And unfortunately, I think she is a Bernie bro. If you can be a woman Bernie bro, she's a Bernie bro. And I think she's extremely dangerous. She has learned to have a good public persona. She laughs a lot now. She didn't laugh originally. So she can seem outwardly charming. But I'll tell you, I mean, that's the most liberal person in the United States Senate, and we're going to have her, and she's at the same time, she's inexperienced. I don't know that I trust her to make the right call on Iran and Russia and so forth and so on. She's got no experience in that stuff. I suppose she's halfway smart enough. I think she flunked the bar the first time, but passed it the second time. She's not a great mind, but she's okay. But the problem is that she's very, very Bernie-ish, and we are going to have a government here. And, she was the people, she really just thought the people that tore up Minneapolis were just great, and she went out and raised money for them to get out on bail. This is a country that's ready, democracy is very, very fragile. Like Benjamin Franklin said, we have a republic if we can keep it. We're very close to losing our republic. And I'm really afraid of what's going to happen when we have a presidential candidate that is going to be, who knows, the taxes will be confiscatory. Businesses will have all kinds of rules and regulations. You won't be able to have, right now in California, you have rules about who can be on corporate boards. You have to have certain kinds of people on corporate boards now. If you have to be black or brown or gay or something, you have to have somebody like that on your board. We'll have all kinds of restrictions. I'm not against any of those folks being on boards. And in fact, I would welcome them if I were running a board. I just don't want anybody telling me what to do. I don't want businesses to be ordered around by government. That's bad. That's bad news. And that's what we're going to get. I think all of our 401ks are going to plunge. And, and the people that are going to be hurt are the people that are on their way up, that want to make something of themselves, the old American dream. It's going to be very much harder to start a business in America, to get going, to rise up the ranks. And I fear, because I think a lot of the people that are going to be hurt the most are going to be the black and Hispanic people who want to work real hard and get part of the American dream. I mean, the old Eastern elites have got their money. They're not going to be hurt by Kamala, and they'll be happy with her. But it's the people that are striving that are going to get hurt, and our country's going to be much the worse for it.
John, I've only got about 2 minutes left in this segment, but quickly, your thoughts on the Supreme Court nominee. Do you think we can get this pulled off before the election so that we have a 9-member Supreme Court?
We will, Zeb, but let me give you the bad news. In that debate, Biden wouldn't answer the question of whether he's going to pack the court. That's a huge, Trump didn't handle it well. That's a huge headline. So what's going to happen is we'll have a wonderful Supreme Court but if there is a big sweep in this election of Democrats, they're going to come right in and add 3 or 4 people to the court. We're going to have a 12 or 13-person court. I predict like a 13-person court. And all of a sudden, the 6 conservatives will be outweighed by 7 liberals, and we will lose the court. So we will have a brief court. That's why this election is so important. At least, hopefully, the Senate is not taken by the Democrats here. But if it is, no. But Amy Coney Barrett will get confirmed before the election. So for a temporary, we'll have a decent court.
John, you're the best.
I'm not too pessimistic, Zeb. If I sound bad today, well, it's because that's the way I feel.
No, I appreciate it. The author of Postgate. Real quick, any new books on the horizon, John?
Yeah, I'm going to write one about just the media, how the media screws up and lies about every significant current event. I'm going to go through the recent current events and to say how like we talked about today, how the media will have exactly the false spin on everything. So I'm just going to go through that so that people can see what the media does, because I think it's the biggest problem with our democracy is that you can't have a democracy if you've got false information.
One of my favorite guests, and I love having him on to tell the truth about everything, the author of Postgate, How the Washington Post Betrayed Deep Throat, Covered Up Watergate, and began today's partisan advocacy journalism, John O'Connor. God bless you, John. Come back soon, please.
Seb, it's a blast. Love talking to you.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Good fight.
God bless you. Thank you. Really enjoy that, man. He tells it like it is, and he knows what he's talking about. Let me tell you that. Hey, I know some other folks that know what they're talking about, and that's Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more. Hello, Jeff. Hello, everybody over at Lee's Furniture. I mean, they know everything about the beautification and the comfortization of your home. And you need a good night's sleep bunkie? Well, I'll tell you, they've got all the Simmons Beauty Rest mattresses. They've got all the furniture, maybe a dinette set, or maybe a bedroom set, or maybe you need a recliner. Oh, have they got a selection of recliners at Lee's Furniture. And don't forget, too, now is a perfect time. The kids are in school for the new floor coverings, whether it's carpet or it's vinyl plank, whatever, they've got everything for you. Check it out today. Stop in and see Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland in Burley. Right now, we're going to send it back over to Sean. We'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Beck.
Thank you very much, and welcome back to our last half hour. When people fall into a niche that seems to really fit them, they do such a tremendous job. And when I talk to this lady, she absolutely is an animal lover and caretaker, and you have to really respect everything she does for the dog world. And I am talking about Deb Hines with Minidoka Animal Control. Deb, how are you this morning?
I am fine, Zeb. How are you doing?
Hanging in, hanging on, doing pretty good, but I'm so glad to have you on the program this morning because I want you to tell us a little bit more about a partnership along with the Minidoka Animal Control with Wagon Tails Rescue. Tell us a little bit about them.
Okay, Wagon Tails Rescue has been around for many years, and they quit taking dogs a few years back because they had decided that as a board, they would rather take their donated money and their grant monies and apply it to spay and neuters.
Mm-hmm.
So they offer discounted spay and neuters. You fill out a piece of paper, and they call you, and it's for cats or dogs. And they call you, and it only costs you $25 to get that animal taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
Because Wagon Tail pays the bulk of the bill.
Well, tell us a little bit about...
They've done that for many years, so... And they help us, with our dogs. The first one adopted at the first of the month, they'll get fixed for us for nothing, or if we have an issue with someone that adopts that doesn't have quite enough money, they'll help us with that. So they're a blessing to us, to say the least. And like I said, they've been around for years, and this is what they do.
Deb, tell us a little bit about what your thoughts are and what Wagon Tail's thoughts are about the ownership of pets, whether it's dogs, cats, etc. I mean, we've got to be more responsible, and if there is I use this terminology, breeding program, and these animals are not cared for, it puts the onus on you and people like you.
Well, the biggest problem we have, and I think Wagon Tails will, well, I know Deb will, but at any rate, when people keep letting their dogs breed and breed and breed, the first thing it does is it destroys the female. And then we're overpopulated with pups that
Yes.
we can't get rid of because
Yes.
at some point in time, just like the cats, they're inbred and they have disease. And
Yep.
you know, you can't save dogs like that. And it just breaks my heart because most dogs, you know, if you get them fixed, they're more loyal. They're not running around all the time. But the other side to that is it does not change their personality. They still work cattle. They still are therapy dogs, whatever you need. They're, you know, they're there. It doesn't do anything. It just helps them stay safe.
What can we do, I say we, you and I, and primarily me on this program, what can we better do to amplify this fact to the general public so that people become more aware about a spay and neuter program?
Well, I'll be honest with you, at some point in time, we have discussed this many times. We want to set up an education class at the shelter regarding spay and neuters. And I'm trying to get one of my vet friends to come and explain to everybody how this works. And, of course, Deb will be here to explain how Wagon Tail's Rescue works. And as far as helping get those things accomplished. And, you know, it's just, we don't need any more dogs, guys. We really don't.
Right.
I've got 30 in here right now, and more people coming in. It's like, come on, it's a thinking nightmare. I don't have room for them, and it's not fair to the dogs. The other trick to this whole thing is if you take a dog and you've had it since it was a pup, Seb, and now it's 4 years old and you don't suddenly have time for it, that poor dog's going to die in here.
Yeah.
But they're away from their family. They don't understand what just happened to them. You know, I lose them. And I don't mean to. I don't put anything down, but they go through depression. They don't eat. They don't do anything, and their mind is just, they shut down.
Yeah.
Just like a child would.
Yeah. How big a problem?
People, if you get a dog, please, please, please know you can take care of it and keep it till it passes away.
Yeah. Deb, let me ask you this, and nobody knows the answer to this question probably better than you do. When you find these dogs, and I'm going to be blunt on this, you find these dogs or they're dropped off at your location, etc. I mean, how long a period of time really economically and financially can you take care of them before there has to be a definitive stop on caring for that dog?
Well, by law, I only have to hold them for 3 days. I keep them for 5 just in case I get an owner. After they've been here for 30, we're done. I can't take care of them anymore because, A, they're mentally trashed, and I don't have enough people and time to donate to these dogs to keep them sane.
Mm-hmm.
And people need to understand, you know, I do not euthanize. I don't. It's been my privilege to say that unless it's a quality of life issue, I won't put one down. But on the flip side of the coin, it's not fair for me to keep him here forever either because they get out in the mornings from 9:30 in the morning till 12:30 in the afternoon. The rest of the time, they're in either a 4x4 or a 3x4 kennel. That's it.
Right.
With no human contact. Now, that is not any quality of life for anybody.
Deb, let me ask you this. If we put together, and I say we, this is just off the top of my head right now, a kind of a promotional video of what really takes place at Minidoka Animal Control, what needs to take place, and really show the onus back onto the owner or the former owner. Do you think that this would be something that would be good to go to service club organizations and to schools, etc., so that people could learn more about responsibility?
Yeah, you know what? It might totally work because, like I said, it's just people come in, they love the puppies, they want the dog, and then the puppy starts chewing and becoming a problem child, and all of a sudden they don't want the puppy, or the dog gets a little older and has some health issues. You know, I'm sorry. I'll take care of them all I can, but I'm not, this facility is a non-profit, and trust me when I tell you, I've not done anything to change that.
Yeah.
But, I want these dogs. It kills me. I want these dogs in homes, and it says me, my heart's so good when I send a dog, they get adopted, and I get pictures from the new owners or statements that say, I cannot thank you enough for this dog, yada, yada, blah, 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 and I know that dog's in a wonderful home.
Absolutely.
It works out. I mean, it just does my heart good, and it makes me want to keep doing that.
Absolutely.
Again, I don't really have the facility or the financial wherewithal to do things on a almost permanent type basis for some of these dogs. I don't.
Well, let's talk again about a mutual agreement partnership between Wagon Tails Rescue and Minidoka Animal Control with excellent spay and neuter programs. And if the general public has any questions at all, what's the best number or set of numbers that they can call?
Well, they can call me at 208-438-2200. And I'll be honest, if I can't answer the question, I can get a hold of Deb Hopkins because she comes in on a regular basis. She helps me get pictures and post our dogs to this Facebook page. And like I said, her and I have worked together for many, many years. In fact, I'll be honest with you, we're known as Team Deb and Deb because we've done this for so long, and we both have the same mindset for the ways we would like these animals to be taken care of and the type of people we would like to have them.
Mm-hmm. Well,
we're just here to help. Honest, we are.
I can believe that, and I
be responsible for every dog because all of a sudden you don't want that dog.
Yeah,
that's not fair.
That's
You're
right.
a kid too. How does that work?
Let me ask you, we need to feature a couple of dogs this week as a highlight of this program. So what have you got for us, and who's looking for a good home?
Well, I just got in a tri-colored Australian Shepherd.
Ooh.
It's a male. He's a beautiful dog. He's about 4 years old. And he has done nothing but cry since the minute he got here. And he is an owner surrender. So I just need him to go to a home. Again, we'll set up the spay or the neuter and his rabies shot. That's part of their adoption fee. And thanks to Wagon Tails, that helps us keep that fee down. And then I got in a little, he's maybe 6-month-old, standard dachshund, little black guy. Not sure that he doesn't have a little lab in him, but he is a scream, and he needs a home too.
Oh, you said something a moment ago, Deb, and you and I have known each other for a long time. I won't put the years on it because that'll age both of us. But you said something a minute ago that made me kind of cringe a little bit. He's an owner surrender, and the dog misses his home. The dog misses his master. That's got to be a tearjerker right there.
Well, you can hear the crying because the little person is looking for its owner. It wants to be with its owner in its home. So, I do the best I can. I bring dogs in here and just kind of keep them mellowed out a little bit, but I'm not the owner. I can't take them home.
Yeah.
And it kills me to have to leave them in here, so.
Well, we've got an Australian Shepherd, and what's his name, by the way?
We haven't named him yet, so if anybody would like to help us with that, I would appreciate that too, because after we took in over almost 500 dogs in our physical year last year, and we're kind of running out of names.
Well, I'll give you one for the name, and I'm an old Gunsmoke fan. How about Newly?
Works for me.
All right, there's Newly. He's a tricolored Australian Shepherd, 4 years of age, and he needs some love. He needs a home. And then, what's the other little dog? The other little dog's kind of a, what did you say?
He's a dachshund.
Okay.
A standard dachshund, and he looks like he's got a little lab in it.
Okay.
And I call him Buzzkill.
All right. Well, listen, Deb Hines at Minidoka Animal Control, you are such a sweet person for what you're doing. And our thanks also to Wagon Tails Rescue with Minidoka Animal Control, talking about the spay and neuter programs. God bless you, and we'll look forward to having you on next Monday. Thanks, Deb. Appreciate it.
Thank you. You have a great rest of your week.
All right, sir. Thank you. The wonderful lady right there.
Bye-bye.
I mean, I just absolutely appreciate everything Deb does over at Minidoka Animal Control. You know, I got to put my own little feeling on this. I don't know what the reasons were why a person would give up a dog and take it to the pound. When there you hear the story about the dog's laying there and crying and whimpering, wanting to go back home to its owner and its home environment. Woo! That gets to me. I can't help that one. Right now, let's talk about our weather forecast, and the weather brought to you by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Hello, Don Scarrow and the crew, and you can go to their website and check out all the delicious meats available for you and your family. Just go to scarrowsmeats.com, and the name is spelled Scarrow. You can't miss it, or give them a call at 324-7657. Don't forget the most delicious of meats, whether it's the hams and the turkeys or the marinated pork ribs or the tri-tips or all the different bacons. Oh, the list goes on and on. From Scarro's Meats over in Jerome. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Not too shabby as far as weather is concerned as we begin another work week, and here's a look at what we can expect. It's going to be a little bit hazy for today, but mostly sunny skies. We are expecting a high of 77 tonight, nice and clear with a low of 39 tomorrow. Again, a little bit hazy, sunny skies, high of 79 with an overnight low of 39. Widespread smoke and haze is expected for Wednesday, high of 81. Pretty much the same for Thursday and Friday. That's look at your weather for Zebeth Durant.
Thank you very much, Gina. And the weather brought to you by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Telephone number to call, 324-7657. Oh, it's good. It's good. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time at Scarro's Meats. The story that was Paul Johnson was carrying on the news on top of the hour about Ammon Bundy at a football game up at Emmett. And this really, really bothered me when I heard this story. The headline in the paper was, Idaho football game ended after Bundy refuses to wear a mask. Well, number one, I'm not going to take the side of Ammon Bundy on this. I am going to say that when in Rome, you do as the Romans do. If it's on school property and he refused to wear a mask, I think the school has every option in either saying, Mr. Bundy, you either wear the mask at our high school event or you leave the school property. However, on the other side of this coin, I found that the school's actions of canceling the game at halftime were absolutely ridiculous. It could have been handled in a better fashion. The police did not want to arrest Mr. Bundy. He hadn't done anything to be inactive in any sorts or whatever. He did get up, according to the story, and moved to a fence near the field and continued watching the game. But that wasn't good enough for the school officials. And I can understand, again, while in Rome, you do what the Romans tell you to do because you're on their property. But to cancel the game, that hurt more people than just Mr. Bundy. innocent kids that were just really enjoying being able to play the game of high school football, and then for the school officials to cancel the game, it's almost like a punishment to them. There really isn't anybody that's innocent in this story. Mr. Bundy absolutely should have put the mask on or left school property. And the school officials absolutely were wrong in punishing the kids that were playing the game and the parents that were adhering to the mask wearing, and they should have never canceled the game. What are your thoughts? Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Somebody called me the other day, and I'm trying to think, I think it was last week on Friday, and they were talking about Ammon Bundy and his anti-government activism, etc. There are good, bad, and ugly things about what has been done and what he has done. I'm not going to go into those at this time. I will say that by refusing to wear a mask on school grounds, the school had every prerogative to ask him to wear the mask. However, when school officials canceled the game at halftime, believe me, that hurt a whole bunch of people more so than Mr. Bundy. And I don't think that was necessary at all. What are your thoughts? I'd like a parent to call me, or maybe a school administrator to call me, whatever. I'd like to hear what you have to say about it. The whole thing, in my opinion, really got blown way out of proportion. Your thoughts, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Another story that we didn't get a chance to get into earlier this morning is that Amy Coney Barrett is, I hope, going to be appointed to the Supreme Court. I hope the Republicans will not weaken. I hope that they show a complete show of force for what is legally their right to do, and they exercise it and do it. The Democrats, of course, are crying foul. The Democrats are stupid because they don't know the letter of the Constitution and the letter of the law. But they're going to get the press, they're going to get the coverage on CNN and other offbeat news networks like MSNBC with a crybaby attitude like somebody's stepping on their toes. No, they are not. We're going into a very fractious election. And when I use the word fractious, I mean it's absolutely going to cause a lot of strife and worry on both sides. And it could end up in a dead heat. And we're very possibly going to see the involvement of the Supreme Court. And when you're only talking about an 8-member Supreme Court, it could virtually become a 4-4 tie. Therefore, I absolutely salute the people that are trying to get Ms. Barrett's name on the docket and get her pushed through for being on the Supreme Court. I would like to hear what you have to say. You've got time right now. Give me a jingle at 436-2244. Yeah, and by the way, saluting a friend of mine that's been on this program not a lot of times, but at least 3 or 4, and that's retired 5-term Republican member of the Idaho House of Representatives and former editor and publisher of the Times News, and that's Steve Hartkin. He had an excellent op-ed in regards to this court appointment of Amy Coney Barrett in the Sunday newspaper, and I salute him for a job well done. Want to thank our major sponsor, and that's, of course, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, they do so much. I mean, they've got those big service trucks ready to zip, zip, zip all over the valley and take care of the problems on the dairy, the farm, on the ranch, during harvest. I mean, they're out there. All you got to do is just give them a call and say, help! help, they'll be there. And then at all 7 locations, they've got all the tires, all the different tread designs, all the sizes for all your vehicles. I mean, we got to get ready. We got to get prepared for colder weather and bad driving conditions right around the corner. And they can help, and they will help. I urge you to stop in and see them today. And don't forget about the best in brake service, the best in front end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries. Here I go again. Stressing batteries, but boy, they've got all the batteries for all your vehicles, and you don't want to have a cold morning pop up where you go click, 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 and nothing's going to happen. So you have your battery checked, and they can help you with a brand new battery. Stop in and see today James and Buell, Dan on Pole Line in Twin Falls, Lane and Rupert, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, the Twist family in Paul, and my buddy Trent on Overland in Burley. Absolutely the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. What have we got cooking tomorrow? Well, I can tell you we've got a full house of great, great people. Excuse me for choking. Hay fever season just seems to really entertain itself by getting in my throat. Tomorrow we've got Dan Kish with the American Energy Alliance and Vince Ellison. Everybody likes Vince Ellison. He's very, very straightforward. Then Dr. History is going to be here with some of his old sagas of the Old West right here. And then at 10:30 we're going to have Jason Freeman with the Rock Creek Fire Department. So, boy, they have had a busy time the last couple of weeks with all the fires and the Big Badger fire. So they're going to be on the program tomorrow. Looking forward to it. We always end the program by saying the way things were are the way things ought to be. And the 4 words that mean the most to me, in God we trust. I urge you to have a good day, a safe day, and we'll be back here tomorrow morning at 8:06. God bless you. See you then.